Welcome back, everyone, for another episode. So I am Coach Krystal, and I'm here with Coach Steph and Coach Anthony.
Woo!
So I was excited about today's podcast, which we are talking all things fat loss. So to kick us off, what is the difference between fat loss and weight loss, Stephanie?
Oh, I'm so excited for this conversation. I think as well, the reason I'm excited for this conversation is because this is such a hot topic and I don't think it will ever not be. So the difference between fat loss and weight loss is very much the fact that when people are looking at fat loss, it's the measure of body fat that they're losing. When they're looking at weight loss, it's the total body weight. And actually, in the last podcast, we were talking about the scales and we were talking about how people do rely on the scales a lot and use the number as, like, they put a meaning to the number. But it's really important to notice and know the difference between the two, because if you are in a fat loss phase, you want to be losing body fat, not necessarily total body weight. Total body weight could be water retention. It could be muscle mass, which nobody wants to lose. It could also be body fat. So that's the primary differences between the two. And with that, like, what do you guys think? What do you guys think people need to remember when they're doing their scale weight for that reason? Like, because maybe it's not best to get your scale weight done, like a DEXA scan or something instead.
Yeah, for sure. Because the DEXA scan will show you your body fat and your bone density and everything like that. There is those like body scans you can do at the some stores, like the supplement stores. However, they're not that accurate, and I don't want people to take them as gospel.
I agree with that highly, actually, because we did that on a challenge a few years ago, and it was so funny. I had so many clients that were making incredible progress. You could see it in their photos and in person. This was back when I was a face-to-face PT, but it was telling them that they'd lost muscle mass and gained body fat. And I'm like, absolutely fucking not. That did not happen. So yeah, I do agree that they can be a little bit not accurate.
Yeah.
Definitely. And I think the thing to remember for clients that are going through this is scale weight isn't the only way. Look at all the options to see your progress. That would be my big takeaways. Like, scale weight is one piece of information, and also account for the other pieces of information to make sure the results.
Yeah, for sure. And it's really interesting when people say, I want to lose weight. It's like, well, actually, you want to lose body fat. You don't want to lose weight, because once again, body composition is a massive, massive thing. It's a massive topic. And a lot of people don't actually know what body composition is. So body composition is the makeup of your total body weight in terms of bone, muscle, fat mass, etc. And if you're wanting to lose weight and you see that scale number dropping, but you're not dropping body fat, you're actually not going to change your body composition. You're going to continue to look the same. So it's about knowing that if you are in a fat loss phase, you don't necessarily want to be or will lose scale weight as well, because we work with clients who go through a fat loss phase, they lose body fat, but their number on the scale remains the same because they're building muscle or because they're maintaining their muscle mass. And it's just a really, really interesting thing, because a lot of people don't actually know that.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of people also don't take in consideration that muscle weighs more than fat. So
can I interrupt
go
with
for
that?
it.
So that is actually false.
Oh,
Yeah, that's actually really, really false. And I was stung with this a few years ago because, to your point, coaches have been taught that muscle does weigh more than fat. The total density of muscle mass is bigger than fat mass. However, a kilo of muscle and a kilo of body fat is exactly the same because it's a kilo. Same thing as a kilo of rocks or a kilo of feathers. Same fucking thing.
wow.
So no, but to your point, and I love that you said this, because a lot of people think that muscle weighs more than fat, and I have been stung with it too. It is interesting because when I did my qualifications, that was definitely what was taught, and that is what a lot of people think. But it's actually the mass of density over the body weight of it, so, or the weight of it. So if you put a kilo of muscle on or a kilo of fat, it's going to look different, but it's still a kilo, right?
Correct.
That's very correct.
So if we swing the cameras over here, this could be a kilo of fat, but
Here you go.
but that is a kilo of muscle.
That's actually the best picture
Yeah.
that you can see, because it's the same weight, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that you brought that up.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because
fun.
I actually learnt the same thing in my PT course, and I had a discussion with the course guy about it, and
Sorry, I love that you call him the course guy.
I don't know what he's like, the teacher
Not
of
even
it,
the
or
teacher, the
yeah,
course guy.
and yeah, like said the exact same thing, and he was like, well, yes, that is true. So yeah, it's like I guess it's like learning that from, I guess, past sort of
Information.
generations
Yeah.
or information, and it's been brought up that way, and that's how it's taught. Whether, yeah, the density of it is the thing that's different.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
coming back to body composition, and then obviously like body fat versus scale weight is very much the fact that in a nutshell you would think that that is the case, but it's actually the density of it. And if you don't recognize that, it can be very, very confusing. But I'm really glad that we covered that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a great one.
I should do a bit more research.
Learn something new.
Yeah.
Learn
Yeah.
something new.
So, like, what happens in the body when you're in a fat loss phase?
All right. I'm going to try and simplify this as much as I possibly can. So, when we are going into a fat loss phase, we are working against the body's natural rhythm and systems. So, your body wants to stay the same. That's what it knows. That's what it deems as safe, right? So, what we have is something called homeostasis. Without, again, going too sciencey, homeostasis is the body's comfort. It's where the body knows it's your current makeup. Now, entering into a fat loss phase disrupts homeostasis. Entering into a fat loss phase means that you need to eat less than your body's used to in order to have less energy, but then you want to work harder or the same to be able to basically turn it into a bit of a seesaw where you're burning more energy and eating less food. So in the body, we have something called downregulation, and it's really important to understand this because people do hear that term, eat less, move more.
Mm-hmm.
So eat less, move more is all good and fine, except for the fact that that can be really detrimental to health if you are eating less and moving more without understanding downregulation. So basically, downregulation is where the body starts to slow its metabolic processes. For example, me talking to you right now, I'm moving my hands, I'm moving my head, I'm speaking while my heart's beating, while I'm breathing. So this is all burning energy. And if you are constantly burning energy and not eating enough food, what can happen is, yes, you will lose body fat, but at the same time, your body will see that as, if you will, a bit of a red flag. Because it goes, well, we've got all of this energy we're burning and we don't have the food to replace it to stay the same. So this is where we then move into our fat stores and we start to use fat for fuel. So this is where the body identifies we need to get some energy from somewhere. The only way we're going to get the energy without to keep, our organs functioning, to keep the body functioning, and to keep us going is to use the fat stores, so the fat stored in our body, and produce it as energy. The great thing about that is that you do lose body fat, but the thing to be mindful of is downregulation means that things will slow down over time. And if they slow down too fast, you can end up shooting yourself in the foot. And I've seen it happen before.
Mm-hmm.
Same. I've seen it happen.
Yeah.
before.
I'm like waiting for someone to say something.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is there more you want to touch on that?
No. I have some other topics I want to touch on.
I will, because I have seen people with the eat less, move more, and shoot themselves in the foot because their body is just like holding on to those fat stores because it's in that like flight or fight state. I even saw it with myself when I was trying to eat less and then not changing, and then once I actually started moving more, I could see my body composition change. So I think it's a really powerful thing for people to know.
Yeah, and also on that, the best thing that you can do is move more without eating less, because if you're moving more, your body will burn more energy, but you're still giving yourself enough food. And what happens is, as we kind of said, people shoot themselves in the foot because they eat a lot less than they should be, and you'll downregulate quicker. You'll downregulate quicker, and food can then affect your metabolic processes as well as your hormone function. very important for men and women to have good hormone function, particularly for women around their cycle and things like that. So it is important to understand those things and to know as well that, you know, you're better off to start by moving more and then reducing food over time. But I see it happen all the time where people just go, I want to lose weight. And then they go, bang, drop 1,000 calories per day.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, how can you sustain that? Like, that's another point, sustainability. So many people go from one extreme to the other, and then you wonder why you can't maintain it.
For sure. So like diet culture, I kind of hate in a way because yeah, people will just do this one diet or cut out a certain food group or like cut out something, but it's not sustainable. And so it's like if people try to go like keto or carnivore, they cut out like all carbs. And then they then give themselves a glucose sensitivity. And once they do start eating carbs again, the weight just comes back on.
Oh, okay. Let's get real for a second. Right. So sugar is not bad for you. Carbohydrates are not bad for you. Fat is not bad for you. Protein is not bad for you. I don't think anyone thinks protein is, but protein is not bad for you. Nothing is bad for you. What is bad is too much of something. So if you have too much of anything, it's going to eventually kick you in the butt. But this is something that I see all the time. People try to cut out things that they don't need to cut out. The only time you should be cutting out a food group or cutting out something in your diet is if you are allergic or intolerant to it. If you are not, you have free reign. Yes, prioritize health. Yes, prioritize fruits and veg, lean meats, all the good stuff, but you do not have to cut out sweets and snacks and sugars and the things that you want to eat. So I just wanted to clarify that because
100%.
it happens all the time. And it still happens, even with the amount of information that's been brought out, particularly over the last, say, 5 to 10 years, it still happens. You do not have to cut anything out.
Yeah, and like people still labeling like good foods and bad foods and like having chocolate as a naughty treat, and it's just creating this bad relationship with food. So no food is bad.
I also just want to dive a little bit deeper on that. Is like, I also have seen people, if they eat something bad, they think that they need to go train it off. And this has been something that I think is like a really good example for those people that are trying to either release weight or, release fat is, guilting themselves into training and guilting themselves into like, oh, I ate that, so I now need to train. And also, for example, is like, if you have a few things in moderation, it's actually okay. But that guilt and also trying to burn those calories through fitness or through like movement, I should say, it's going to take a lot more longer than actually, just being okay with eating that stuff.
Yeah. And I also, on your point as well, so just so that you guys know, because a lot of people still have this misconception that in order to, like, that you burn the most of your energy when you're exercising. So people will go, oh, I had pizza for dinner last night. I'm going to do an extra 40 minutes on the treadmill today to burn it off. And actually, you do not lose most of your energy. Sorry, I said lose. You don't use most of your energy in your training. You actually burn more energy at rest. So if you do a 45-minute training session, you still have the extra 11. Wait, no, we're on a 24-hour. I was going to say a 12-hour day. Okay, 24 hours in a day, 45-minute session. So you've still got that 23 hours, whatever. I'm not a mathematician.
It's like 4% of your day.
4%. Anyway,
could be wrong,
we all know what I'm saying here. So you still have all of that time in your day, right, to be able to like continue to move your body through walking. But it's not even that. People think that you burn most of your energy in a training session. Going back to what I said before, right now I'm sitting here, my hands are moving, I'm talking, lungs are breathing, heart's beating. I'm burning energy right now. And your metabolic rate is kind of determined by your fitness level, your muscle mass, pretty much those two things. But it is important to know that you don't have to burn a food off because you are constantly burning energy. You even burn energy as you sleep.
Well, that kind of leads us into how do we eat for fat loss? And yeah, kind of the science behind a deficit for those listeners.
I love this question. Okay. So, when we're looking at eating for fat loss, so there's something that I want everybody to be very mindful of. If you eat your normal diet and just less of that, you're going to end up putting yourself in a deficit compared to what you are used to. In saying that, though, there's ways to eat for fat loss that are going to be healthier and more sustainable. So when we're looking at your food choices, if you were to have, say, a 1800 calorie diet and that is your fat loss, but you're filling it with burgers and chips and lollies, you're going to fill up your 1800 calories really, really quickly. Whereas if you're having more whole foods, prioritizing fruit and veg, prioritizing lean meats and all those sorts of things, you are going to find that you'll be able to fill your plate and your day up with more volume in your foods, which therefore is not only going to be better for your health, but there's more chance of you being able to manage your hunger. And this is where it's really important that it is so normal in a dieting phase for you to be hungry. Hunger is a good thing when you're dieting because hunger shows it's working. However, that's not always the case either, because when you are looking at your food choices, if you are already having a really healthy, sustainable diet and you're reducing your calories, you will find that you are going to feel hungry because you're eating less of what you normally eat, right? If you are somebody, though, who is used to eating shit, for the better word, and then all of a sudden you change your diet up. So, say for example, you are somebody who would eat takeaway for, 6 or 7 days a week, and you would always snack and you'd have very man-made foods that weren't really nutritious or fibrous. Processed foods, yeah, man-made foods.
I was like,
what? Anyway, yeah, man-made foods. You know what I mean. So with that, right? So it's going to be more likely for you to get hungrier quicker because you're eating all of the additives, all of the sugars and foods that are going to fill up the calories really quick. And then if you shifted yourself to a whole food based diet, you're going to feel probably fuller and feel weird for eating so much food, but it's because there's so much more fiber in your diet. For the most part, though, being hungry is a really good thing.
Yeah, I'm going to touch on that as well with as we spoke about before, the way that our body burns calories. We have our basal metabolic rate, we have when we exercise, but we also have the thermic effect of food.
Love this.
Yeah.
Yeah, great topic.
Yeah, so this is how our body, how much energy our body burns to break down the food. So
can we just stop and say that again so people understand? You can burn energy when eating. Yes.
Yes. That is correct. And so protein actually burns more calories from our body to break that down. And our body doesn't actually absorb the calories from fiber. That fiber is a carbohydrate that moves through us to help our digestive system. So if you're eating your 1800 calories from packets of chips and KFC or whatever, things that are very processed, your body is going to absorb more of those calories because it doesn't have fiber. It's not high quality protein. But if you're eating steak and vegetables and salad, your body's actually, burning more calories.
It's got to work harder.
Yeah.
It's got to work a lot harder to break the food down, right? So it's a really good thing to be mindful of. And in no way we're saying don't go and eat that stuff. We all still eat that. I mean, guys, we literally just came back from a cafe where we shared a Biscoff cookie.
It was delicious.
It was amazing.
Delicious.
So my point is, we're not telling you don't eat these foods. We're telling you just be mindful that if you're in a dieting phase, the best thing you can do for your fat loss to maintain a good level of satiation, so not get as hungry, to ensure that you're filling up and getting enough fiber in your diet, and also so that your body can work in a sustainable way whilst you are quite literally trying to work against your body's natural state. It doesn't want to lose fat. It sees that as I don't want to use the word a bad thing, but it just doesn't see that as a safe thing, and we're working against it. You do want to be prioritizing health, but you can also incorporate those yummy foods like Biscoff cookies.
Mm-hmm.
That was so good, by the way.
Yeah. I have had a few of those before. They're really good.
Quick little pickup from me. So just the association with the word lose or loss.
Yeah, I actually heard you say release before, and I know we've spoken about this.
Yeah, yeah. So this can just be an unconscious thing, and I have worked with people in the past where I feel like it has actually held them back. So I just want to address it because I think that it can be important. So with the word like loss or lose, when you lose something, you generally tend to want to find it, right? So if you lose your car keys, you therefore want to go looking for them and get them.
Mm.
So for the listener or for someone that may be going through a fat loss phase, if you actually change the language around it to fat release, you're then releasing the fat
So,
and you're
like letting it go.
letting it go. Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah. And I have previously worked with people where just that little mindset shift has been like, oh, okay. And they actually look at it a little bit differently.
Yeah, it's enough for them to be ready to say goodbye, I suppose. Like, and then again comes back to goals and like being able to, I guess, work through those tough times and actually like let yourself change. Is that where you're going with it?
Well, yeah, it does unconscious things. Although, yeah, really being able to like, because when it's almost like an identity. Okay, so if people are associated with looking a certain way, if they change their identity because they now look different, then they have to be okay with that. Otherwise, their safety mechanism will be going back to what they know.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if you're releasing a version of yourself, you're being okay, I'm cool to release that and coming into a new identity almost.
NLP shit.
That's cool. I haven't actually heard that before, the fat release thing.
Yep.
I'm going to
Yeah.
use that.
Yes, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I can
Um,
see how as well, like, because normally, and I know this is like a rabbit hole, but normally, like, people do have words that they deem as negative and positive, and it's like something I say to my clients all the time is it's only negative if you put a negative label on it. So, like, the word loss can be naturally negative without us even realizing. So, like, I do completely understand that concept.
yeah, it's just, I mean, just through what I've learned and my association with the word loss and something else came to mind. No, it's gone. No, don't know.
That's very helpful.
Yeah.
So, for the listeners, like, how would they train for fat loss? And, like, yeah, how to understand training for fat loss?
Yeah, beautiful. So with this one, like it can go a couple of ways. So obviously, like there's no such thing as like the right way to train. It's always the way that is something you can stick to and better for you and what you enjoy. But when we're looking at it from like more of a sciencey based way, so when you are in a fat loss phase, you are obviously wanting to burn as much energy as possible in your workouts. So people do go down the line of kind of HIIT training and things like that. Me personally, I believe HIIT is a great tool, but it's not something you should be doing every single day of the week because your recovery will be shocking. But it is a good way to get you into, what's the word I'm looking for? The different levels of,
And, well, there's,
what is it? Your anaerobic state.
and yeah, that's it.
Your anaerobic state. So yeah, so your anaerobic state is where you're burning energy faster and your body's working harder.
Yeah.
In saying that, the best way for you to be able to go into your fat loss phase, and this is specific to what I do with my clients, is particularly for those who are training in a gym or training with rep-based workouts, it's better to go higher reps and to be able to work for longer periods of time. So, for example, if you were in the gym doing a strength phase or building muscle, you might have like 8 reps in a set and you might rest for 2 minutes or 3 minutes, right? But then if you are doing fat loss based workouts, you are going to be wanting to move for a longer period of time and therefore put a little bit more strain on the body. So you want to be increasing your rep ranges and doing more of an endurance set or endurance work. So this may be like 20 or 30 reps. It may mean you're moving and working for, up to 2 minutes and then taking that rest period. I don't think there's necessarily a best way to do it, but we do know that that is what is going to help you in a gym setting to be able to work endurance and work for longer.
Mm-hmm,
Definitely. I was going to say pretty much the exact same.
Yeah, and I have come across people that think running is a good way to lose fat, and I want to tell them that it's not, because muscle is going to burn more calories inside the body, and muscle's just great for overall in general. But also, if you're only running and only doing HIIT training, as we mentioned before, our metabolic rate can adapt. So if you're already eating less and you're running more, and you're just, if you keep going that way, you're just going to keep eating less and keep having to move more.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And actually, just to your point as well on muscle mass and how it burns more energy. So for those of you who didn't know, or just need a refresh on this, so your body has to, in order for your body to hold on to muscle mass, it has to have enough energy to hold on to it. So when we are building muscle, we're actually expanding our metabolic rate, because it takes more energy for your body to actually be able to hold muscle mass. So if you have a good amount of muscle mass and you're consistently weight training, you're going to find that you'll be able to burn body fat easier. And this is why you may think, oh, how do those people do it, where they're just lean all the time and they're constantly eating a lot of food and they're not putting on any weight? And I'm looking directly at Anthony as I say this. but it's because they've got enough muscle mass that it's helping them burn through energy more, so that when they eat more food, you've got a few things. You've got what Krystal was talking about with thermic effect of food. So you break food down and that burns energy. Then on top of that, muscle mass takes more energy to maintain. So your body has to work harder to maintain the muscle mass. And then on top of that as well, consistent weight training will, again, burn energy, or general exercise. So you can turn into a fat burning machine by simply building some muscle mass and then holding that. And this is why it's such a great thing, weight training. And this is my area of expertise for sure. That's what I do with my clients. So it's not necessarily always weight training. For those, like I have clients who train from home, it might be resistance training, but regardless, it's the same sort of concept.
Definitely. And I love how you really broke that down into like easy digestible steps, because I feel like for people that have really asked the way that I maintain my muscle mass, or the way that I've maintained my definition, or those types of things, it's like I've found a very brief, easy way to describe it, but that I feel like made a lot more sense in the aspect of like the sciencey stuff, and also the stuff that you said.
Yeah.
Like I've had people make comments to me that I don't look like a marathon runner, that like I hold more muscle. But
rude.
Yeah. I got bigger quads than the average marathon runner, but that comes down to like my strength training and my nutrition and holding on to that.
Yeah, and that's why it's such a vital thing to be able to do some sort of weight training. Like, and this is not even just good for fat loss. It's great for building muscle. It's great for maintaining bone and joint health. Like, weight training is the number one thing, not just proven by Steph, backed by science. And if you're not weight training at least twice a week, you should integrate it into your training. You know, even if we're looking at, because obviously, Krystal, you do a lot of running and you work with marathon runners, and you've done marathons too. You still have weight training. You don't just run. Mm-hmm. You need to do the weight training to support your running. So yeah, don't think I want to lose weight, now I'm going to go lift weight. You know, it's actually very much, it's just all around really good for you.
In saying that, would you say it's one size fits all when it comes to like a training plan for someone in a fat loss phase?
Absolutely fucking not. No way at all. Because this is the thing, right? Like, everybody's very different. So let's use Krystal and myself as an analogy, because we're both women. So with us, right? Krystal might be, well, actually, how tall are you?
179, 178 centimeters.
Beautiful. So Krystal's 178 centimeters. I'm about 165. So she's got like however many centimeters that is. We've already discovered I'm not good at maths. Moving on. So she's already got some height on me, right? So with that, she's naturally already going to be burning more energy because there's more of her, which that sounds weird in saying that, but it's true. There's more of you. Now, also, Krystal, let's just say, has more muscle mass than me. And if she does, that means that not only is she taller, but her body is going to be able to burn energy faster than me. So your height and your weight and your makeup really play a vital role in your nutrition around body fat and losing weight. losing fat. Sorry, there's a difference. But in terms of your training as well, Krystal's body may respond differently to mine. The concept is the same. So across the board, yes, I would recommend that if you are wanting to go through a fat loss phase, you do higher rep, lower weight, endurance work in the gym. But the program's not going to be the same because the program doesn't take into consideration your strengths and weaknesses, injuries. It doesn't take into consideration things that you are good at. You know, there's just so many factors to it. And one program does not fit all, ever. Ever, ever, ever. So that's why, you know, to a degree, I think at some stage in your life, you should have a customized program. Not always, but most of the time, or at least in phases as well.
Something that I just came to my mind is the fat loss shakes. Have you seen these?
Yeah.
I find it's more so like middle-aged, older demographic that they might see it on TV and like that must be the only way to lose weight, and then they don't eat their meals and they just have this meal replacement shake. What do you say to that?
I'll let Ant take this one first and I'll add on because I feel like you've got something in your mind that needs to be shared.
I think it's not only is it like poor from the company to think to educate people that that's the only way. I think that it's actually really sad that not that the older demographic are taken advantage of, but it's like they don't have the education that there's other ways.
And also, it's not always just the older demographic either.
Yeah.
Now, some meal replacement or weight loss shake companies are getting a bit better. So, for example, I have this client at the moment who she's very much like she's a cleaner, she's busy, she's got a baby, like a toddler. Actually, I don't even think she's a toddler yet. And she's like, I'm in this fat loss journey, and I've got her on a meal plan, but she's very much like, I just need the fastest and easiest way. And I was actually doing some research into these shakes because she said to me, I want to have this particular shake. I enjoy it. I like it. Please add it into my meal plan. And when I did some research into it, which was only a couple of weeks ago, I did realize that some of these companies are getting a little bit better. This particular one, and we're never going to name brands on here, but unless it's within reach. But this particular brand had, it was actually a protein shake at the end of the day. Like it had the 20 grams of protein per sachet. It had all of the nutrients, all of the minerals. Like it actually had, I was surprised, it had a lot more minerals and vitamins in it than some of the whey protein powders. And I thought, fuck yeah, that's good. Like that's really, really good. And I added it into her plan because I knew it worked for her. She likes it. And I was pretty happy with the nutrients of it. But in saying that, the purpose of it, and it comes down to purpose, the purpose of it wasn't to replace a meal. It was to add some extra calories in and extra protein where she needed it instead of a snack. So she still had her breakfast, her lunch, her dinner. She had, I think, one of her meal plan days was a dessert. The other was a afternoon snack. But for morning tea, she would have this shake. And I was happy with that because I think time and place, definitely. But if you are somebody who's just having them all the time and not getting nutrients from anywhere else, big red flag, big no-no, don't do it. So I think they are getting a little bit better, but some companies are still, their marketing tactics are pretty shocking, actually.
Yeah, for sure. Like some of the ones that I'd come across that had like minimal protein, heaps of sugar, like no nutrients in there.
Oh, and they still have those, that for sure. They do have them still.
Yeah, it's just want to make sure people know to get their nutrients from whole foods.
Yep.
Yeah. So why should someone do data tracking throughout their fat loss journey?
Crickets. So I looked at Anthony and he looked at me and no one spoke. It was a standoff.
It was.
That's okay. I will take the reins. I just feel like I've been talking a lot in this one. That's okay. People.
You're the aesthetics queen here talking about fat loss.
Let's do this. Okay. So what was the question? I forgot the question.
So the question is why data tracking?
Oh, yes. Okay. So data tracking is really, really important because, and we actually did touch on this in the last episode. So when you are on a journey, it is really hard to, I guess, notice how far you've come, because you look at yourself every day, you feel all of the emotions that you feel, you go through everything you go through, and it can be just really hard to see what you've actually achieved. So data tracking allows you to, I guess it minimizes the risk of self-sabotage in the way that it allows you to see that you are actually making progress. So data tracking can look like a few things. If you work with coaches at Within Reach, we do either a weekly or a fortnightly check-in. So this would be photos, measurements, scale weight, if you are comfortable doing scale weight. And it allows us as a coach to break down how your body's responding to your training and nutrition, and therefore make adequate changes when needed. Now, regardless of if you're working with a coach or not, progress tracking is important, and I do believe you should be doing it because it allows you to see data. Data does not lie. That is something to remember. Data does not lie. So your scale weight, if it's coming down, that's a good thing. Even if it's not, it can still be a good thing. Your measurements will tell you if you're gaining size or losing size in certain areas of your body. Your photos will show you the changes that are happening in your body. So it is important to know that without data tracking, you can't possibly know if you actually are making a change. Where people go wrong with this is if they are only tracking their scale weight, because you're going to see the number fluctuate, come up and down, and that could leave you to thinking that you're not making progress when you actually are. So what I have seen happen before is people have changed something, whether it be their training or their nutrition, because the scale's up 1 week. But that doesn't necessarily mean that you're not making progress. And now you've just gone and changed your training or nutrition for no reason, which then in turn lacks consistency, which can shoot you in the foot later down the track. So data tracking as a whole will show you the data. It will allow you to understand where are you making progress, show you a trend over time, and then you can use that to make educated decisions on what you need to do next, whether a change in training, nutrition, movement does need to be made to keep you progressing, or if you're actually cruising and you're on the right path.
100%. And yeah, I think when people are either on their journey, whatever it may be, and they have that data to refer back to, does really help not only their mindset, but also like just be like, I am progressing, like it is working, and have like faith and trust in the process.
What are you
Sorry, I
laughing at?
just looked at Steph and I don't know.
We touched toes for
Oh,
a moment
yeah.
there.
So we were interlinking our toes.
So yeah, I think being able to refer back to the data actually allows the person to see the progress that's working.
For sure. I guess we've covered a lot in this episode, all things fat loss. We went through the difference between fat loss and weight loss, the science of being in a deficit. We've been through like food choices and cravings. So message at the end of the day, I'd also say get comfortable with being uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
If fat loss is your goal, you just gotta be comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, and you have to know that it is all worth it at the end of the day. Create a sustainable habit. Make sure that what you are choosing to do in the fat loss is something you can repeat over and over and over again. And if you can't, you might be going too hard too quick.
Thank you for listening. Wherever you're listening from, please like, subscribe, and we will see you next week.
Tune in next week.
Bye.
Bye.